Hello. Welcome to another battleship inspection in World of Warships. And it's time to take a look at the Colombo. The Colombo. We try to do overall thoughts early in the game. Probably currently one of the strongest randoms battleships in the entire game. Probably almost objectively the strongest tech tree random ship in the game right now. Certainly like in the top three at minimum. So Colombo. This is a ship that they just can't stop buffing. It's quite interesting to me that Wargaming just cannot stop buffing the ship. When Colombo came out, it had 1.5 Sigma, it had really bad rudder shift, and it had very bad firing angles. And I would say on release, Colombo was good. Perhaps not strong compared to other ships, but very solid overall. We just have a lovely Condi moment here where he's so fucking fast. Yep, too fast for those shells to hit. Unfortunate. So upon release, the Colombo was good. It was about an average, in my mind, battleship. It was definitely not weak. It was very good at what it did, which was consistently get about 15,000 damage a volley on pretty much every target, aside from, destroyers, obviously. And what I find very interesting about release Colombo is I thought, maybe I was delusional, but I thought that as a community, we understood that the Colombo could not be accurate. I thought it was like basically like I totally missed that shot. I blind fired. I got no lock on dispersion. Totally missed. Very cool. We take a sixth of his boat. But I thought that it was like common fucking sense that this ship could never be accurate. Like that was the complaint that everyone would make. You would watch your average streamer YouTuber. They'd complain about it being inaccurate. And I guess not caring or not looking into that, like it just had to be inaccurate. That the idea that if this thing ever was going to be capable of landing like 10 shells average instead of 6 to 8, that it would be like an overpowered death machine. And I guess we've just totally forgotten that, or Wargaming's totally forgotten that. And so a little while ago, they buffed the Colombo quite a lot. They moved the Sigma up from 1.5 to, I believe, 1.6 is where it now sits. And they improved the rudder shift by a few seconds. And they also dramatically improved the firing angles on Colombo. Dramatically improved the firing angles. This ship used to have pretty, like, maybe 35-ish degrees. I can't remember exactly what they were, but they were, like, your typical okay firing angles. The Colombo now has 22-degree forward firing angles. I'm not sure if that is literally the best of all battleships in the game, but it's certainly up there. So they improved the rudder shift a bit. They improved the Sigma by 0.1, and they improved the firing angles quite a bit. And at that point in time, the Colombo was inarguably strong and well above average in random battles for battleships. It was thoroughly in the strong category. And then Wargaming introduced the Ledge mod. And the Ledge mod for Colombo is stupid. It's just stupid. I don't really, there's not even like words to describe. One, the slot they put it in. Two, the effect. Three, the fact that it doesn't even give you debuffs. It's crazy, but like this is what I mean. I'm aiming for his fucking conning tower, and I'm still hitting 7 shells. And my anecdotal experience playing Colombo ledge mod versus no ledge mod is, in my experience, you hit at minimum 2 extra shells per salvo with ledge mod overall. Pretty much regardless of target. It's not super crazy toxic against destroyers. But against battleships and cruisers, I would kind of say the old Colombo, the original Colombo, you'd be like pretty happy with hitting 8 out of 16 shells. And again, you'd be happy with that because that would still be 15 to 20k damage. I would say now I am like expecting 10 on broadside battleships and cruisers. I'm expecting around 10, and dude, there are times with Legmod Colombo where you are legitimately hitting like 13, 14 shells at 15 kilometers on cruisers and battleships. Um, and it's just the fact, like, basically, in my mind, the Colombo sap is honestly more consistent than like even 32 overmatch. Like, it just, I mean, look at this. Yes, we have 1 damage buff in arms race, but that is half of his ship. He's at an angle. He's slowing down. He's trying to dodge. It's half of this Castilla ship is gone. I mean, okay, we have, 2, keep in mind, it is arms race, right? Now we're up to 15,000 damage per sap hit, which is, a 20% increase. Also, like, why, like, the Colombo might be the most brain damaged battleship in arms race. Like, this might be legitimately the most demented battleship in arms race, because you effectively are a DPM battleship, unlike almost anything else. And you have a more consistent salvo weight than even like Thunderer or Conqueror, those kind of ships. And it's just, the ship is way too consistent now. The old Colombo had to gain consistent damage through like sheer volume of fire, volume of salvos. It is fairly common. Look at this damage we're gonna do to this guy. 2 reload, 2 damage buffs. 13 out of 16 shells. 40% of his ship just gone. If with no damage multiplier from arms race and he doesn't have these HP buffs, that would still be 3/8 of his ship just gone. And there's kind of like nothing that can kill this thing 1v1 battleship wise. Kind of the only way you're gonna kill a Colombo and not get traded in a 1v1 in any battleship is like you have a obscene amount of fire starting, and then you force yourself to just park completely nose in. We're of course running Sansonetti, and if you watch any of my American ship reviews, especially the battleships, you've probably heard me say that they're not balanced around Halsey Confederate. It's fact check true, they're not. Because it's way too easy to get them in them, and then those ships are not balanced around having like that kind of reload. And the exact same thing is true of Sansonetti Confederate. Colombo is arguably a bit balanced around the range buff, right? Because like even with that range buff from Sansonetti, I still only have like 20 something kilometers of range. But when you get the Confederate, which is a 15% only compared to Halsey, it's a 15% reload. It's just, I mean, like, again, 20% inflated damage, but that's still a 12 out of, this is my point. I'm aiming superstructure because I don't pen his belt because he's a German battleship, and I'm hitting 12 out of 16 shells. OG Colombo averages in this situation, again, probably something like maybe 8. 8 on average, I would say. You'd be pretty pleased with 8. Trying to pick out superstructure on a German battleship at this range. And we just hit 12, and then we just hit 11. And even without the damage buffs we're getting, those would still have been over 20k salvos back to back. It's, I don't know what we're doing. I like legitimately don't understand what we're doing with the game design of this. The ledge mod is like giving you too many buffs because it's giving you, for some reason, a dispersion and a reload buff. It's not giving you any nerfs. Completely with that salvo, it's still 20% of his boat. I don't know, man. Like, I legitimately just don't know what to really say. Like, I'm almost at a loss for words. Like, the Colombo with the ledge mod is so ridiculous. I almost, like, don't want to play other battleships because what it is there's no effort required. Like, the Vermont is, probably overall maybe even a better ship than Colombo. It is tankier. It does have a harder salvo weight. It does citadel more things more consistently. But, like, you have to have hands to hit things in the Vermont. Like, the shells, like, on Colombo, like, you just have railguns. I mean, there's some of the fastest shells in the game at tier 10. Some of the fastest shells in the game at tier 10. And you now have, like, very decent dispersion. I mean, keep in mind, right? The Sigma is worse, right? Obviously. But, like, when it comes to just the accuracy, even accounting for the accuracy mod that, like, Montana can run, even accounting for the fact that Montana has, like, 4 or 5% better vertical dispersion than Colombo, like, at the end of the day, you have, like, overall a smaller dispersion ellipse than Montana, and then you just have 0.3 worse Sigma. And, like, yes, that is a substantially worse amount of Sigma, but the thing is, it's kind of only a problem. Like, it's kind of legitimately only a problem, this bad Sigma, on small targets. Because, in a way, this is going to sound very counterintuitive, but in a way, on a ship like Colombo that saps people and therefore gets a lot of saturation hits, what you kind of want in the Colombo is you want every shell to hit the target. So you want a small dispersion ellipse, right? You want the dispersion ellipse to be the same size or smaller than the target at whatever range you're shooting at it. But you don't, like, really even fucking want every sap shell to hit the same pixel. Because if that was a thing, then you would be, like, maxed out at never getting more than, like, 20 to 23k salvos on people. And because now with the ledge mod, you have this tighter dispersion, but still this mediocre Sigma, like, this is not fucking bullshit. Like, on battleships at least, and big cruisers at closer range, like, it's literally giving you more damage because the shells are spread out across more of a ship, which is, like, the exact thing you're looking for. Like, there is a reason why if you are a main enjoyer, this is probably one of the very few ships on the enemy team you fucking turbo cringe when you see in your lobby. I mean, we still hit, 7 on the DD to kill him, which is crazy. But, like, you're not, like, super much better against destroyers. You might maybe hit, like, one more shell per volley. It's nothing crazy. But this extra dispersion, this improved dispersion on the large targets is really where it's super noticeable, because there's a lot of targets where with OG Colombo, you would kind of hit blind fire for 5 shells. And, I mean, we have 1 reload buff only, so we have a 10% reload, but, like, we have a 22-second reload. So, realistically, we have a 24-second reload because we have 1 reload buff in Arms Race. Like, you tell me, is Colombo on a 24-second reload fucking balanced? Like, it's the reason I'm going to kill this guy. Just... And he doesn't kill me because even though the Arms Race heals aren't doing a whole lot, they actually kept me alive. Very cool, Arms Race. Like, these ships are just so not fucking balanced. Like, the only ships, to me, that even kind of become balanced in Arms Race are, like, torpedo boats. Because... there's still, like, most torpedo boats aren't really DPM torpedo boats. You can't just, like, perma-spam the torps out, typically. But, like, Colombo, any high DPM cruiser, like, these ships are not remotely fucking balanced for Arms Race. What they need to do is they need to, like, drastically change the, like, especially the reload buffs, and the damage buffs on, like, Battleship gun. I don't know, man. Like, it's bananas to me. I mean, the idea, because, like, we're going to keep picking up buffs, but, like, even now, we have 2 damage buffs and 2 reload buffs. I have a 19-second reload on my sap hits for 15k. Like, what the fuck is this? I don't know what, like, the solution is and still keep Arms Race a thing. I personally would completely remove the fucking heal buff from Arms Race. I think it's, like, actually stupid as fuck. But, like, the Colombo in Arms Race is it's probably the most toxic battleship in Arms Race because it is DPM. Like, obviously, I'm not trying to say, like, a Vermont with Halsey and 3 reload buffs is balanced, right? I'm not trying to say Vermont with a 25-second reload is balanced. We all know it fucking isn't. But, like, even at the end of the day, the Vermont does not even on that kind of a reload, really get to use a 25-second reload in most situations, right? There's plenty of situations where, yeah, the arms race and the Halsey Confederate's giving you a crazy as fuck reload, but like you're still not going to shoot every time the guns are loaded. In this thing, it's like the only time I'm maybe going to wait, the only time I am maybe going to wait to shoot these guns is if someone is perfectly 0 degrees pointing their bow at me. And that's it. Otherwise, I'm going to fucking spam on cooldown. Because, like, why wouldn't you? Also, I can't remember, I'm like blacking out basically, but the ship is the easiest ship in the game to get Confederate in. Like, I've talked about this in all of the USN battleships, how you can deliberately farm Confederate, but like I want you to think about trying to farm Confederate in like Montana or Vermont. Like, you're probably going to take 2 salvos on average per target. I mean, it depends, right? It obviously depends on what the target is. But, like, angled targets with AP, you're not going to guaranteed take 20% of their health on battleships. Like, the Colombo, dude, it is guaranteed. Like, you are not shooting a 45-degree battleship with SAP for less than 20% of its HP. Like, that's not going to happen, realistically. Unless, like, early you saw in this game, I, totally misaimed. And even when I totally misaimed, I almost got Confederate off a Confederate point off of that repub, even with a terrible misaim. Like, also, this is unironically fact. The Colombo is the best battleship against subs in the game. Unironically, you are the best battleship in the game. And it's part of why I've started playing so much more Colombo since the subs came into the game, because if a sub is on the surface, it is like a guaranteed dev strike. It is like legitimately basically a guaranteed dev strike because the splash damage gives overpen damage within like half a kilometer radius. So all 16 of these shells, if they land before the sub can dive, will count as an overpen. And like, 16 times 12, what is that, 19,200 damage or something? Like, you can literally just one-shot subs in this thing. It's actually fucking ridiculous. This wasn't even like a super, super high damage game, but like the damage done to the DDs. The thing is just super toxic. Like, there's kind of no ship in the game that isn't like 100% bummed if the Colombo shoots at them. Because like, you don't have pixel perfect dispersion like a Wisconsin or something, or so like, yeah, if you perfectly aim at a DD in like Wisconsin or Vermont, you're probably gonna like 15k them practically. But like the thing with Colombo, because you have the railguns and the tightly packed dense spread with bad Sigma, like there's no such thing as like dodging Colombo in a destroyer either, because it just shits these 16 shells into a fairly tight ellipse. And so it's like, yeah, it might not fucking 15k you, but like there is no like dodging that shit. Like, you are going to take multiple hits every time. The only way to prevent this thing from minimum taking 20% of your ship is to go perfectly bow in. Even then, if you have a decently sized superstructure, you can easily lose 20+% of your ship to this thing. It's crazy, but you'll see like how easy like the Sansonetti buffs are to get. Like, I mean, we got 100 shell hits. I don't think this game even lasted that long. That was a 17-minute game. But like, I would say pretty much any game that lasts a long time, like you get your 100 shell hits for 10% better healing, which is nice. 5 seconds more smoke time, which is nice. You're gonna get a kill like basically every game. I mean, you're gonna get range bonus in Colombo basically every game. And then like, you can just choose to get this. You can just choose to get Confederate in this thing. Like, I want you to think how easy this is. You shoot basically any destroyer in the game with 4 or 5 hits, and you've gotten a sixth of the way to Confederate. You shoot any cruiser basically in the game for 4 pens, and that's 20% of their ship. You shoot basically any battleship in the game for 6 pens, and that's basically 20% of their ship. Like, as long as there's not crazy high DD count games and there's not a lot of targets to shoot at, like, you super, super comfortably are 4 out of 6 on the way to Confederate within like the first 6-7 minutes of the game. Like, just on your flank, not even trying to cross map, just playing your flank, like you will comfortably be 2/3 of the way to Confederate. And then as soon as the ships from the other flank push or you push, you like fire 2-3 more salvos and you get Confederate again. Like, I want to say I get Confederate in Colombo like a minimum 2 out of 3 games. Probably closer to 3 out of 4 games. I would Uh, I think I played 4 games today and got it all but one or zero. We either got it every game or all but one game, something like that. I've been playing it a lot recently with the Ledge mod, and it's like, yeah, overall, 2 out of 3 games you get that aren't pure blowouts, right? If it only lasts 4 or 5 minutes, obviously you're not getting it, but like 2 out of 3 normal games, you're gonna get Confederate and Colombo, and then you're just gonna get 15% off your fucking reload. Oh, on a ship that basically has DPM. What are we doing? What are we doing, Wargaming? So, back onto the Confederate topic. This is kind of the polar opposite. Like, this is the kind of matchmaker where you probably won't get Confederate because there's just not enough ships. Like, you still can. This game is going to be kind of a blowout, but like, you're going to see how close I think we come to getting Confederate even in this game, like super early. And kind of the only reason I can't get it this game is just the DD count. Like, this is, I don't understand why 6 DD games are even physically possible. The idea that like 2 of these guys per team can't wait an extra 30 seconds is fucking insane. But I am running brisk on Colombo, as you've probably noticed. And the reason for that is that you don't have to take grease the gears anymore on Colombo, which is another thing the Ledge mod is doing for you. Is the Ledge mod is now letting you take brisk on Colombo for 100% pure free, because you now no longer have the turret traverse debuff, the turret traverse nerf, like, which is fucking bananas. Like, that the Ledge mod is giving you half the benefit of old reload mod, 6% better dispersion, but then just like randomly the turrets don't turn slower. Like, it's fucking insane, obviously. So like that's why I'm running brisk. It's not something I used to run on Colombo because I used to prefer the turret traverse. I mean, I guess we could talk a little bit about like the ship itself and not just its game imp. This is what I mean, like 10 shells. But then you see like how because we hit like so many right on his superstructure, damage saturation already kicked in, and that doesn't count towards Confederate. I have to do a little bit more damage, right? But it's so you have, like I've said, a bit better dispersion than something like Montana, but zero point 0.3 worse Sigma, right? The back turrets do 360, which is extremely nice. 4 hits on a blind DD. If that was 5 hits, that would have been a qualifying salvo for Confederate. Actually, 4,800 on a Sherman. No, that's not enough. Yeah, we would need the 6K. We would need the 6K. So we needed one more hit to get Confederate points off of him. But the AP has it's kind of interesting because the AP is a really good like IQ test for noobs, I guess. When people say that Colombo has bad pen, the idea that Colombo's AP has bad pen is a complete fucking meme. Like, legitimately, it is a meme because you basically have at every single range in the game barely, and I mean barely, worse pen than Montana. Like, even out to long, like 20-kilometer range, you still only have realistically something like 7-8% worse AP pen than Montana, but your shells are way faster. What does faster shells mean? Faster shells means a shallower impact angle when you hit battleships, well, when you hit anything. So even though, yes, this technically has like 7-8% less AP penetration at long range than Montana, because the shells are coming in at, say 15 degrees instead of 18-19 degrees, you basically have Montana pen. That's kind of what it comes down to, is if you are in a situation where you think you would get Citadels in Montana, you will almost 100% guaranteed get Citadels in the Colombo. That's just kind of how it works. And even the closer the range, I want to say the less disparaging the AP performance becomes. Like, I want to say at very close range, this thing is legitimately like 1 or 2%. Like, it is barely even worth talking about that this thing is worse pen than Montana at very close range. And it's only when you get to long range, which again you're compensating for by a flatter shell trajectory. So realistically, if you Citadel things with Montana, you Citadel things with the Colombo. The AP is very respectable for 380s. I kind of don't think it's almost ever worth using. I mean, 23, like, it's just I don't know, dude. I mean, like, how many times have I shot my guns and I'm at 80k this game? Like, there's just like kind of no battleship that can get this guaranteed damage per salvo that Colombo can, especially now with the legendary mod. I don't. It's just fucking stupid. I mean, there's no like nice way to say this. It's just very fucking stupid to me. Um, and it's just like this one Yamato. Like, I guess he technically overmatches my bow and stern, but like I'll just hard bully this guy. Like, he's got no chance. I mean, he's got no chance. Like, legitimately no chance. He would never kill me 1v1. Like, the only way he would even live 1v1 is if he went perfectly bow in, and then I probably couldn't kill him either, but we would just, like, shout insults at each other basically at medium range, right? Uh, it's... So the guns are, like, now, like, very reasonably accurate, like, average or above average accuracy overall for battleship guns, but railgun shell velocity, very like good enough AP pen, and then like the sap is just the sap was always crazy. It was balanced because he didn't hit many shells. Like, that's why the sap was balanced. And that was like he died because it only took 5 pens to hit him, but like basically every shell hits this guy. Like, dude, I don't know, man. I don't get it. Like, this is to me the wrong ledge mod. Number one, like, yeah, like Colombo's ledge mod should be some kind of. I mean, basically Colombo's ledge mod to me should have just been what Sicilia was, which was the fast cooldown smokes, like the better smokes, and then you would give something up for that on Colombo. Now it's like, especially with the ledge mod, it's like why anyone would play Sicilia over this thing is like crazy, because like the smoke on Colombo has always been and still is a very dubious ability in my mind. There are situations where it's amazing, 100%. There are situations where this smoke is incredibly strong, lets you live a situation you would guaranteed die in. But like, I almost don't even use the smoke in Colombo. There are so few situations, like if you are positioning properly. Look at this dispersion, dude. 31,000 motherfucking damage. Why is this a thing? Another thing nice about Colombo is you literally don't give a fuck about super ships because they're so big. You just get more damage. Like, there is no ship I love seeing in the lobby more than Satsuma, Patri, or Main, because it is, instead of a guaranteed 20k, it's like a guaranteed 30k if I hit my shots, right? But the rear firing angles are quite shit compared to the front. I mean, they're still good. Like, they're still objectively good by battleship standards. Like, see, that salvo, you were probably thinking as I shot it, this thing is a shotgun. And we still hit fucking 10 shells. Like, yeah, but the rear firing angles are something like 35 degrees-ish. So they're definitely not good enough to, like, make you auto-mount shells, right? You can definitely take full pens from Battleship AP at 35 degrees. But they're still good. Like, 35 degrees is still plenty decent, right? Obviously, we wouldn't ever complain about something like that. But, like, even in this situation, it's like, why would I ever smoke here? Like, unless I'm gonna die. Typically, there's, like, exactly 2 times I smoke in Colombo. I need to run away, or I'm gonna die. Or I want to, like, bot the fuck out and sprint around a corner, but kind of guarantee that I get to shoot first. But, like, I would say on average, I probably use 1 smoke a game. Like, I probably legitimately maybe use 1 smoke per game in Colombo. And to me, this is why Sicilia's gimmick, and really basically the gimmick it has going for it over Colombo, is better smoke, right? It lasts a bit longer and it reloads way faster. But, like, to me, I don't hardly ever use the smoke on Colombo, because I feel like you hardly ever need to use the smoke on Colombo. So, like, the idea of them putting out a ship that gives up the sap, which is, like, the thing that makes this ship overpowered, and then buffing a dubious consumable, it's really interesting, right? Because, like, at the same time they came out with Sicilia, they basically buffed Colombo. Basically the exact same time, because I want to say the announcement of what Colombo's legendary mod would do even came before Sicilia was fully released, I think. It's really, really interesting to me. And like that's why like I said, to me the ledge mod for Colombo should just be what the Sicilia smoke does, and then you should like have to give up slot 6 or slot 5 for it. I mean, that would make the ship interesting. This ledge mod is just serving to make it overpowered. That's just really all there is to it. Colombo's ledge mod, Elbing's ledge mod, Golden Lion's ledge mod, Venezia's ledge mod, and then to a bit less egregious degree, Petra's ledge mod. These are all pure buff ledge mods. Like 90% of games, Petra's ledge mod is a pure buff. Like the only time it's not a pure buff, obviously, is in games where you need to use all 4 heals. Then sure. But Venezia's is a pure buff. Elbing, pure buff. Golden Lion, pure buff. And then Golden Lion and Colombo ledge mods are probably the biggest offenders in the entire game of me to ledge mods, because they are not just pure buffs. They are toxic to fight against pure buffs. Like, the Colombo is not more interesting to play, and the Golden Lion is not more interesting to play when using their ledge mods. At least Elbing, Ven, and Petro. While the ledge mods are basically pure buffs, I mean, aside from Petra, they're 100% pure buffs, and I would still argue Petra's ledge mod is a buff. They make the ship more interesting because they kind of like change the things you can do in it. Colombo doesn't do that, and Golden Lion doesn't do that. It just makes the ship stronger and more toxic, and that's it. That's just all it does. This is a pretty sad state. I should have just fucking minimap shot this guy. That shot that I fired was pretty good, so I can only assume he like slammed on the brakes and turned in hard. But like this kind of damage, like I am not. I've said many times, if you've been watching this channel, I've said many times that I am not like a damage farmer, like mentality player. It's not like a skill set I am good at really. But like it is legitimately difficult to do under 150k in Colombo. Like in Ledge mod Colombo, games below 150k are exceedingly rare. Exceedingly rare. Like my average damage and my win rate in Colombo has probably gone up legitimately 15%. Relatively, right? I haven't gone from like 60 to 75. But like I've probably played something like 30 games in Ledge mod Colombo, and in those 30 games, I literally can count on one hand the amount of games I've had under 150k damage. And I can count on one hand the amount of losses I've had in this thing. Like, it is disgusting. I played like a handful of games the day before, and then I think 4 games today to record this. And like I was literally like trying to find games where like I die in the like I was like, okay, if I play one more game, we'll lose, and then you can see like the things it's bad at. Because Colombo, you don't have a ton of HP. You do have some shell traps on you, but like, and you don't have an improved heal, but like, you have really good armor bow in, and 360 turrets with crazy firing angles. Very sad that this game ends. We don't get to kill this Smolin fuck. But, like, I don't know, man. I mean, it's not, like, the best battleship in every single situation. I'm not trying to say that it is, but at the same time, the experience fighting this thing, like, I'm trying to think of what ship I'm in where Colombo is not, like, a top 3 cancer ship to fight. Any armored cruiser, like the Russian armored cruisers Napoli, this ship is maybe the most cancerous ship in the game. Any battleship, just any battleship, this is like Conqueror or like Colombo and maybe Devastation are the 2 most cancerous ships. Any destroyer, as far as battleships go, it's probably Ledge mod Colombo is number 1, and then like a Devastation because it breaks everything if it hits you, maybe. And then like the only reason this thing isn't turbo toxic against light and less armor, well, against light cruisers, it's by far the most toxic because the sap overmatches you and can't overpen you. Also, if you're in like a Svea or a Smolensk, this thing kills you with 3 citadels. but like it's guaranteed half your ship in a cruiser. Like the only cruisers that can kind of live against this thing are actually Des Moines. Like Des Moines and Salem, because they have 27 bow. If they go perfectly nose into Colombo, they do kind of take almost no damage to it. But so like yeah, I would say that's it. Like heavy cruisers with 27 millimeter platings. Um, the Colombo is not like a top 3 cancer ship. Everything else, this thing is just pure fucking AIDS to play against, man. I just don't know how else to say it. It's complete fucking AIDS. But like you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 ships, and we just didn't have anything to shoot at. Like these were the only ships we had to shoot at. But like, how early in the game did we get these? Like these 4 qualifying targets for Halsey or for Sansonetti Confederate happened in like 5 minutes, right? Like very very early on in the game, and that's what I mean. Like anytime there's less than 5 like 4 destroyers or less, like you're just gonna get Confederate in this thing because this was 3 salvos on Yamato, I think. 3 salvos on Satsuma, 76. So averaging 25k a salvo. 3 salvos on Yamato, averaging 23,000 a salvo. 25,000 a salvo. And then like 22k, right? Um like, and this was 2 shots. I don't know, dude. Like you can see, like on battleships, we are literally averaging 20 plus thousand damage a salvo every 35 seconds. Like, what is this ship? And like the shells are fast as fuck. Like it's one of the easiest battleships to just shoot with, because there's like 0 flight time. I mean, compared to like anything else. I mean, like compared to a Montana, for example. I mean, at 20 kilometers, I want to say this thing has like basically almost 2 full seconds less flight time. It's kind of fucking insane. It's kind of fucking insane. And also the sap, I want to say the sap is actually slightly higher velocity than the AP. Someone can fact check me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure Colombo sap compared to Montana AP is like almost 2 full seconds faster at 20 kilometers, which is crazy. Like you do be having railguns on the Colombo. So it's like your positioning is very forgiving, because at the end of the day, you can always go bow in and abuse these like 20 something degree forward firing angles. If the shit gets out of control, then you pop a smoke and run away. You don't need hands to aim because the shells are super fast. You don't have to be even precise in your aim, because you have like, again, I know it's counterintuitive, and yeah, when you shoot AP trying to get citadels on people, then you can get trolled by the bad dispersion 100%, or the bad sigma 100%. You get trolled mostly by the AP, but when you spam sap, like this tighter cluster of dispersion than Montana combined with the worst sigma is legitimately working in your fucking benefit a lot of the time, at least on battleships. It's working in your fucking benefit, because instead of like this is the problem with Venezia, right? Like when you shoot Venezia at superstructure, you just stack 15 shells on the superstructure and you get 1 good hit, and then they're saturated and you get nothing. But like this thing, you shoot superstructure, and aside from like Kremlin and GK Preußen, those kind of ships, like you pen all of the upper belts in the game and all the superstructures, so you get like half on the superstructure, half on the upper belt, and then the upper belt isn't saturating the same way superstructure does, so like you're guaranteed more hits. Whereas if you had like pixel perfect dispersion, yeah, it would be more toxic in the hands of a good player, like a good aimer. But like overall, you could just like you don't have to like, oh, I should like wait, oh, aim a little higher, ooh, aim a little lower. It's like broadside Montana, click, 35 seconds later. Broadside Maine, click. Des Moines, click. Like you're just clicking on people. Like the Colombo is just like the ultimate point and click adventure in the game right now. Like it is truly the definition of a point and click adventure. Like to me, this ship is objectively overpowered. Like again, I'm gonna go back to the history. Release version Colombo, unfair to play against, but overall balanced. Post buff Colombo with the rudder shift, the sigma, the firing angles, strong. Not objectively maybe overpowered, but quite strong. Like probably legitimately in random battles, a top 3 or 4 tech tree ship. Current Colombo with Ledge Mod. This is easily a top 5 tier 10 battleship in the entire game in randoms. It's probably like the best tech tree battleship in the game right now. The grind is horrific. I will get maybe talk about that in the port a bit more, but like the ship is so fucking stupid. All right, let's hop out. All right, let's go over equipment first. Yeah. If you watched any other battleship videos, you know we run this on everything with 15-second base TCP. Even 23-second on non-Americans is demented. It's retarded. Yeah. Imagine if cruisers could have DCP that lasts more than 5 fucking seconds. Obviously aiming. I'd say the only thing that's not an obvious pick here would be steering gears. I do think prop mod is like probably overall better. I really do like the steering gears though. I've mentioned this many times how like prop is way better for long range kiting because it dodges easier, and then steering gears is typically better when you're pushing close in. So I do like the steering gears mod just because it allows you to like super effectively wiggle around and swap turrets side to side. But it's not like the objectively correct choice, I don't think. I mean, prop mod is probably like overall better, especially if you want to farm damage and kite and spawn. Like obviously prop mod is just overall better. I mean, spotter plane. kind of a no-brainer. The ledge mod. The ledge mod. I don't understand who's designing this shit. I really don't understand. Like we just had Vermont, and Vermont has to me like one of the most balanced ledge mods in a very long time, where it clearly improves one aspect of the ship and then clearly diminishes another aspect of the ship. And it's like maybe better in a game mode like ranked, probably overall like objectively worse in randoms, but it's a pure trade-off, right? You can't say like you're stupid to not run ledge mod on Vermont because it is an actual trade-off. Like there is no trade-off here. Like it's fucking insane. If this ledge mod, okay, let's pretend for a minute that all this ledge mod did was reduce your dispersion by 6% and then keep the reload debuff. Because remember, you get a 13% hit to turret traverse with reload. So if all this thing did was make you more accurate and your turrets turn slower, it would be a debatable legendary mod because it would be a noticeable hit to DPM, 12%, but a noticeable improvement to accuracy. So you'd have a 4-second worse reload versus being a little bit more accurate. So the question then would be like, do I hit enough extra shells with the accuracy mod to compensate for the lack of DPM, which is probably somewhere around 12% DPM? I think like that's already a good ledge mod that I would probably run on the Colombo. Then, if all this thing really did was give you the dispersion bonus and the main battery reload time and the turret traverse buff, it would be a no-brainer ledge mod. Or if it was just the main battery dispersion and no debuff at all, just 6% hit to dispersion versus a 4-second faster reload and 13-second worse turret traverse, the ledge mod is still, to me, a no-brainer pick. And then they slap this they stack it. This was fucking ridiculous about this ledge mod, is they give you reload. So for 2 seconds, right? Because Colombo with reload mod is 33 seconds. With this build, it's 35. For 2 seconds off your reload, 2 seconds longer reload, you get 6% more accuracy and 13% faster turret traverse instead of running reload mod. Like, it's on a ship that was balanced because it wasn't accurate. That was why we thought this ship was balanced. Because it was like common fucking sense that if this thing went from averaging 8 shells a salvo to 10 or 11 shells a salvo, it would be the most broken shit in the game. Well, congratulations, Wargaming. It basically is the most broken shit in the game. Tier 10 battleships, Colombo might be the most broken battleship currently in the game. It's up there. It is unbelievably up there. Like, at this point, if you run Cincinnati on Colombo, like, they might as well just fucking give you the 15% reload time because you're gonna get it like 8 out of 10 games anyway. Like, you are going to get you can literally deliberately choose. People are leaving spawn. You pop a spotter plane. You 20k a battleship. You 20k a different battleship. You 20k a different battleship. You get 4 hits on a destroyer. You get 3 hits on a cruiser. You shoot one more target for 20% of it. So, like, it's the easiest ship in the game to get Confederate in. Like, it probably just objectively is the easiest ship in the game to farm Confederate in. And then, like, you just randomly have, like, a sub 30-second reload on guns that basically guarantee 20k you no matter what you're doing. Yeah, dude. Like, this ledge mod is a disgrace. It's a legitimate fucking disgrace that this is in the game. Disgusting. Disgusting. They come up with Cecilia. This is what Colombo... You want to know what Colombo ledge mod should have fucking been? The Cecilia should not have been introduced in the game. The Colombo ledge mod should have just fucking basically did what Cecilia Smoke does. And it should have replaced your concealment, and we could have called it a fucking day. Could have been just like the Venezia ledge mod. I guess they didn't want to copy it. Making this ship more accurate. You realize that this ship has more accuracy than, like, Montana or Maine? Like, it has worse Sigma. Because it has 1.6 Sigma. But it's better dispersion ellipse. Jesus Christ, man. Like, this ship is ridiculous. This ship is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Captain build, because you're not running reload anymore, you don't need grease the gears, so that's pretty cool. So now you can take Brisk for free. 38-second turret traverse time on a 35 reload to me is totally fucking fine. Everything else is a standard, like, no questions asked, you would run it build. Remember our conversations about Brisk. Basically, we asked 3 questions. 1, does the ship have good top speed? Colombo goes 31-1 with a speed flag. Yeah, it's decent enough. 2, does a ship need to take a 2-point skill? No. 3, does a ship stay dark a lot? Yes. You have a long reload, you have a smoke. And 4, typically 4 is, do you 1, do you need turret traverse? 2, do you stay dark a good bit? 3, do you have decent top speed? And then also 4, do you get any value out of another 2-pointer? Like, you don't get value out of AA defense expert on Colombo because your AA range is dog shit. So there's no real reason to take this to me. So this is becoming like no-brainer Brisk. When you have reload mod on Colombo, even though this turret's 360, you're kind of incentivized to take grease the gears, because otherwise you have like almost 45 turret traverse, which to me kind of blows. Armor, like we mentioned, is like extremely pretty good. Like, it's just good. I mean, like, you have very good side plating, so like no cruiser sap or anything like that pens you. Like, no cruiser HE pens you aside from some like maybe like a gear, right? I guess a gear would pen you here, but like no real normal cruisers. You have 50 deck. The superstructure is like a decent size, but you're incredibly tanky bow in, and then the 360 turrets, and the demented firing angles, like we've said. This is what I'm talking about kiting. There's just so many more shell traps, because like when you're nose in, the only shell traps, it's just the superstructure, and then you have the same shell traps from the rear, but then you also get all of this and all of this. So like kind of any shells that land on your ass will, like, close to the turrets, just kind of skip and pen you. But the idea, again, like, this ship is such an egregious example of Citadel design. Like you are just kind of never Citadel in Colombo. Like, it happens every now and then. Typically when I get sits on a Colombo, it's like Vermont AP at like medium range, because it plunges in a little bit. But like, I mean, man, the Citadel has so much fucking protection on this thing. It's kind of insane. Like, because this is what we're talking about, and like this is why also cruisers can never Citadel. Like, you cannot be Citadeled in the Colombo by literally any cruiser, even if they have the pen, because you would think, oh, 375, and then the turtleback is only 25, but it's this slope here, it's 25. So yeah, battleships overmatch the 25, but then the problem is, like, they still have to go through 375 and 25 at such a steep angle that it's effectively at least 50, and then they have to go through another 50 or 25 on the roof. So like, yeah, you can take a Citadel in Colombo. I'm not like, you can. Again, a lot of like the slower, more plunging shells with high AP pen, like Yamatos and Vermonts, do tend to sit you more. But like the idea that you go flat in Colombo and blow up is like hilarious. I mean, that is a hilarious cope. That you would ever go flat in this thing and blow up. The only way you would go flat in this thing and blow up is if you're like broadside like this, and then you aggressively turn in. So if you're going in, nose in, right? Or sorry, if you're going flat broadside like this, like let's say a battleship's here, you're probably never going to take a sit flat broadside. But if you turn in, because the way the drift works, you're going to kind of roll this hull up, right? You're going to roll this part of the ship up slightly out of the water. And then what that's going to do is like thoroughly expose the flat part of the citadel. So kind of the only way you consistently take citadels in this thing is turning in aggressively on people that shoot you when you're mid-turn, or then like a bit of plunging fire. But I mean, the armor on this thing is like good. Like it's well above average armor. Just the side plating, like you're so immune to a ton of destroyer AP, about like all the cruiser sap. I mean, the ship is just kind of, it's too well armored. It's also like, more maneuverable now too. Like I don't think we showed it, but the rudder shift is like kind of funny because we're taking the steering mod. So we have like the turning circle is not great. That's again why like it's not objective correct. If this turning circle is like a Vermont like 850 or something, then steering would be like objective correct choice. But I do think it's more of a preference between that and propulsion. But this ship is like legitimately ridiculous. The Colombo was reasonably balanced on release. Like it was a good battleship on release. And then like 2 or 3 streamers and YouTubers basically panned it because like they couldn't get it through their fucking skulls that the ship can't be accurate. We can't let it be accurate. It has 16 fucking guns and it shoots sap. It has to be a shotgun. And it was good. When it was a pure shotgun, it was good. Then they buffed. What did they buff? They buffed rudder shift. They buffed Sigma to 1.6. And they buffed firing angles. So now you have like 30 degrees forward firing angles, which is fucking crazy. It's like this, right? You basically can only take superstructure pens while getting all your guns off. Crazy. And then it was strong. Like Colombo, after those buffs, was an objectively strong ship. Like probably, realistically speaking, very easily a top 10 randoms battleship, if not more. Colombo with Ledgemont is like legitimately a top 5 randoms battleship. We are probably in like the what we would call S tier in battleships for randoms. It's disgusting. It's absolutely fucking disgusting what this thing does. And like the Ledgemont, again, that 6% on paper doesn't seem like that much, but because the dispersion now is, remember that's vertical and horizontal, so it's combining to shrink your dispersion ellipse by a solid like about 8 to 10% less surface area where the shells will land. And this all of a sudden, like if you're shooting especially larger targets, it's not to me quite as toxic against like just right. It doesn't magically let you hit like 12 out of 16 on DDs and small cruisers, but like what it does is, to me, my standard for Colombo volleys on original Colombo was like 6 to 8 shells was very normal on a broadside battleship. With Ledgemont, like it's probably averaging 10. Like you are legitimately averaging on bigger targets 2 if not more shells per volley, all at the cost of 2 seconds of reload, and you also don't have a turret traverse hit, so then you can grab fucking Brisk or something. Like, Jesus Christ, man, what are we doing? What are we doing? The ship is ridiculous. It's like, it's hard to stop playing this thing because it's got to be one of the most consistent battleships in the game. Like, there just simply isn't a target you really hit for under 15k unless you miss. Even on troll salvos with bad dispersion, on targets like, say, a GK where you only pen superstructure and, like, nose and ass, it's like, it's very hard to do under 12 to 15k in this thing. And then you get anything where you pen basically everywhere, and it's just, like, it's unplayable. Like trying to play some of these ships into Colombo, it's just literally unfucking playable, dude. Like, some of these ultralights that it citadels especially, I mean, I don't know. I never understood why we kept buffing this ship. Like, to me, Colombo was one of the first battleships when I started becoming a bit of an okay player. It was probably one of the first battleships that I got, like, a 60 win rate in. And to me, it just felt like, yeah, it was inaccurate, but like that was the point because it couldn't be accurate. You just got 10 to 15k every shot on cooldown, no questions asked, and 15 salvos into the game, you had 150k damage. It was like super straightforward. And I would say like since getting the ledge mod, like probably pre ledge mod, my win rate in Colombo is low 60s maybe. Post ledge mod, it's probably 85. The last like 30 games I've played in this thing, I think I've lost maybe 3 or 4 of the last like 30 games I've played in Colombo. It just like brutalizes the like. There's no like there's no ship that doesn't have its game horribly detrimented by one Colombo salvo. There just isn't any cruiser. It's like basically half their HP is gone. Any 32 millimeter plating battleship, it's like a third of their HP is gone. Any even armored battleship, it's like a fifth to a quarter of their HP is gone. This is why you get Confederate. Like I have had games in Colombo where I fire 6 salvos and I have fucking Confederate. It's that stupid because like big battleship lobbies, they're leaving spawn. You like 30k a main, 22k a Yamato, 22k a fucking Montana, 15k a GK. Shoot him again. Now you're 4 out of 6 of the way there to fucking Confederate. Like, dude, I don't even know what we're doing. I was like almost tempted to keep playing and get even more crazy games. Like we looked at like a couple of semi-tame games, but like these were the first two, like 150 on a super short game. What was this one? 189. And then I think we looked at games 3 and 4. What was that? Yeah, I think we looked at 3 and 4. I don't know, man. I don't know what Wargaming is smoking. I don't understand. I don't really understand at all. The only way here, okay, I'm trying to think of any way you could make this legendary mod borderline balanced and acceptable. And the only thing that I can come up with is it goes in the concealment slot and it nerfs the reload. That is legitimately the only thing that I can think of to try to balance this thing. If you had to play Colombo with like 15.6, 15.7, whatever kilometer concealment, you still 100% fucking could. It would still be like a god tier battleship, but it would at least like, you would maybe die in it more. Like, dude, there are games I don't even use the smoke on this thing. Like, it has a smoke, but I mean, I don't know. Like, put it in the concealment slot, okay? It's the same mod, or it's just 6% dispersion. So we have 6% dispersion replacing concealment, and then it's like -1 consumables charges. So you have 4 max heals and 2 max smokes. Maybe? Are we like maybe bound? Okay, it's at least a trade-off, right? You would at least have to say like, ooh, it's not it doesn't have improved healing, so I like having 5 heal spec, right? And I do use the smoke, so I don't know. I'm trying to like cope a way into making this a balanced ledge mod. I think like legitimately at minimum it should be in slot 5. And then we could we could start by moving it to slot 5 and removing the reload. So but then but then but then it would be like almost even more toxic. Like I'm trying to think of this, but like imagine now you had 33-second reload Colombo with the same accuracy and like it just had worse concealment, but like now it just pumps out more damage if you're a good player and you can position properly and survive. I don't know, dude. I don't know how you would even balance it. It's hurting my brain even thinking about it, so it's time to stop. It's time to end the video. That's Colombo. The grind is horrific. But probably like in the fucking tech tree, I'm trying to even think of the ships. Like, does Japan have a better ship for randoms? No. US, I like Vermont more, but realistically, no. USSR, no, 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 no. No. Is it like the best tech tree ship for randoms right now with Ledge Mod? I mean, I love the Vermont, but the Colombo is undeniably easier to play and stupider. Takes less skill, more comfortably farms damage, worse against really good players than Vermont probably. To me in the tech tree, it's like probably Vermont and Colombo are the 2 strongest tech tree ships in randoms. Montana's still very good, but it's tough to think of like what shits on everything harder than Colombo. The only thing Colombo, here's the one thing. The one thing we didn't really have it highlighted in the replays, unfortunately. There is one thing that the Colombo does not shit on, and that is a Des Moines or a Salem player with room temp IQ. If a Des Moines or a Salem goes perfectly 0 degrees bow into you, you don't really damage them and they shit on you. Even at close range. I mean, you can still shoot their guns and their superstructure for like 5 to 10k, but the point is you have a long reload and you're going to take like 6-7 salvos to kill a full HP Des Moines, and the thing is going to like legitimately annihilate you with AP while you do it. So like, is that it? Is that like the one thing that maybe you actually struggle against? Is a Bow in Salem? We'll go with that. It's hard to kill a Bow in Salem 1v1 in this thing. Unless they go like this. This is what I mean by 0 degrees bow in. Now, imagine the Salem goes like this. He goes 10 degrees. What's this slope? That's like 20 degrees? Yeah, boom. Instant, like, half dev strike. The thing's demonic. It's demonic. It's easily... Yeah, it's probably a top 5 overall battleship in randoms at the moment. It's probably not as fun as Loria. I think Loria is a more fun ship, but I actually think Colombo is like probably a more overpowered ship than Loria. Um, the one thing the Loria has going for it over Colombo, there really is one thing it has going for it, and that is against 30 mil plating and 27 mil plating cruisers, you shit on them and Colombo can't. Right, so that's really the reason to play Loria is you Citadel ultralights like Brisbane. Colombo only citadels the real ultralights like Svea and Smolensk that have the 70 millimeter citadel belt. So Loria citadels all the ultralight cruisers, and then it can fuck with 30 mil plating cruisers. But like against every other kind of target, the Colombo's just straight up better, more toxic and oppressive and overpowered. All right, that will do it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.